Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. Thank you for taking the time out today to join us to talk about the application for 2018 to provide services in 2018, domestic violence services through the Chicago Department of Family and Support Services. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Meera Raja, and if you hear a second voice, it will be my coworker Julia Talbot, who's with me to sort of help me keep track of questions and just keep everything flowing the way it needs to flow. So my plan for today is to briefly go through the RFP, which is what you're looking at right now, and then I will also go through the actual application, and I'm assuming that most of the time is going to be spent answering your questions, because we're holding it kind of at a late date, and so I'm assuming that all of you have had a chance to go into the application, play around, look at the questions, and hopefully you are filled with questions for me that will clarify everything for you. So again, we're going to just start right here, the 2018 CDBG application, domestic violence programs, and let's see, as soon as I get my cursor working. Okay. First thing I want to bring your attention to is the response deadline, June 5th at noon. And as far as I understand from my coworker Julia, that I think we would have to re-release, actually, if we were to change that date. So it is set in stone, pretty much.
12 o'clock. So just say that you have to have it in by 11:30 and you will be fine. Because every time we have one of these, somebody gets kicked out at the last moment, and once the application is closed, we really can't reopen it, even if you were only a minute late.
All right, great. So moving on, we have and I'm assuming again that all of you have had a chance to look through this. So I went through it, and I'm just looking to highlight the important things, I think, for you. Obviously, the title, domestic violence, that phrase, and also what is defined as domestic violence under the Illinois Domestic Violence Act contains several relationships. However, this RFP is, and this is no change, this has always been this way, this is to serve victims who have been in an intimate partner relationship. So, not mother on son violence or gang violence or anything like that. We are focusing on intimate partner violence. When we talk about the model types that we fund, those of you who have been with us before will notice that there are some slight changes in our model types. One of the things is that the word case management has been taken out of all of the model types, and our assumption is that case management is implied. When you're trying to provide these services, you will be providing case management. When we talk about the background, just to tell you, our department's mission is working with community partners. We connect Chicago residents and families to resources that build stability, support their well-being, and empower them to thrive. And that, of course, is through our partnerships with all of you, community agencies. An average year, the programs that I fund serve approximately 12,000 victims of domestic violence, and our domestic violence hotline serves more than 20,000 calls per year. So you'll see at several points in the application, or maybe one or two, you are asked about your work with the Illinois Domestic Violence Hotline, and that is why it's such a priority, because really the DV hotline is the clearinghouse for all of our DV services in the greater Chicago area. I think most of you would know that the services that we're looking to buy start January 1st, 2018, and end at the end of the calendar year, December 31st, 2018. So you have to be prepared to hit the ground running January 1, 2018. Just some previous statistics about the number of counseling programs, legal advocacy programs we've had. You can look through this at your leisure. I did want to talk about the fact that, of course, we always welcome new applicants. However, we hope that you have a minimum of 5 years experience providing services to victims of domestic violence. And again, it's not that we will not consider an application with less experience, but those with 5 years or more experience certainly will be given preference. Let's see. Another thing that's sort of important to talk about is that we do want you to bring some other share to the table. I am completely understanding of the fact that funds are shrinking everywhere you turn. However, relying on us completely for funding, we just don't feel like that's a solid way to build a program. I might as well just talk about this right up front, because this is the elephant in the room. Funding is subject to the availability and appropriation of funds. I have no more idea than you all do out there between the state budget, between the federal budget. We just don't know. So unfortunately, that's the best I'm able to tell you, is that we just don't know. We're watching, we're waiting, we're seeing, we're trying, just as all of you, I'm sure, are doing. Given that, and then the second double whammy is that you all, most of you who have been with us, know that it takes a while to get that first voucher paid. So you should plan that for the first 30 to 60 days, you have to be able to operate without getting reimbursement right away, because this is a reimbursement contract as opposed to pay up front. When we talk about rates of reimbursement, this is just sort of like counseling services have been funded at this level historically, all these different programs. I'm going to tell you that this does not mean that the amount you're applying for has to fall within these guidelines. These are just guidelines. If you're going to, let's say you're providing a legal services program and you feel justified in asking for $100,000, by all means do so. That does not mean that you will be kicked out. You certainly have to have some justification, like, you know, with the cost per client, you have to show us that you're adding a lot of value-added services, but please do realistically apply for what you think you need, given your agency's funding situation. Many of you, I think, we have talked about our strategic framework and the goals that we plan to work on as an agency. And one of the things that you'll see, hopefully, in this RFP and moving forward is that we're moving away just from outcomes, or excuse me, just from outputs, like, for example, how many case management sessions you hold, or how many group counseling sessions you hold. Those are outputs, and we're moving towards outcomes the best way we can. This is a slow process, and of course, I think every field feels that their field is a little unique in that identifying outcomes is difficult. And certainly with domestic violence victims, some of the outcomes have nothing to do with our services or the behavior of the victim. But within those guidelines, we will be moving towards outcomes now and in the future. Again, the deadline, which, you know, if you've got a great application and you don't submit it to us on time, we have a problem. This is the pre-proposal webinar, which you are attending right now. If you have questions, you can contact me when it comes to the content of the program-related questions. And Julia Talbot is here to answer any other questions you may have if you're having trouble getting into the application, sort of the technical type questions. So I'm going to go over briefly the model types, since we have changed them just a little. It's actually not as much as it seems like, but we have changed them just a little bit. The first program would be counseling services for victims of domestic violence. And this program, this model type is appropriate for you to apply for if your program provides counseling services, supportive counseling, and you don't use court advocates or attorneys. And I'm not going to belabor all of this in going through all of the activities. You certainly have a chance to look through all of these in the RFP. The next model type is legal advocacy and counseling services. And this is actually, what do they say, what's old is new again? I believe this is a model type that we had several years ago, and then we tried to decouple the legal from the counseling. However, what we found is that many agencies then applied for a legal advocacy contract and for a counseling contract, and it was the same clients that they were serving under both contracts. So from looking at the work that most of you do, this seemed like a logical coupling to come back to these two activities. So of course, this would be appropriate for programs that use legal advocates and court advocates. Our next model type is legal services for victims of domestic violence, and this remains unchanged from previous years. And not surprisingly, this would be for programs that use attorneys that represent people in family court, represent clients for various legal matters. Supervised visitation and safe exchange centers for victims of domestic violence. Again, no change from the previous year. Resource and information advocates, no change from the previous years. These are legal advocates who work at the courthouse at 555 West Harrison, and they act sort of as a liaison to further case management if someone needs that. They really are the first stop for victims coming into the courthouse who may have no idea of what they're supposed to do, where they're supposed to seek services. They've simply been advised, come to 555 West Harrison by someone, and the resource and information advocate acts as a guide. This next service, Multidisciplinary Team Services for Victims of Domestic Violence, this has been in existence. However, we didn't fund this through an RFP. This is a program that is actually under the umbrella of the Chicago Police Department, and they have identified several districts for which they want to provide intensive follow-up when they go out on a domestic call. And if you have further questions about that, please let me know. Okay, I see one question here, and I'm going to try to look at it. All right, Julia, how do I access the top of the question? Ah, there we go. What are required credentials to serve as a legal advocate? That's a great question. As far as I know, of course, the person has to be 40-hour trained. After that, I'm assuming they just have experience as a legal advocate. From what I'm told, there really aren't any classes to become a legal advocate. You just have to hope that you start to work with someone who's really experienced and shows you the ins and outs of being a court advocate. But from my perspective, you need to be 40-hour trained and have a history as a legal advocate. Okay, give us 1 second here.
We'll make it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm just finding a way to make the question part of the public record.
Well, or also so you can just see all of it.
Okay.
No, I think you can pull the box over.
Okay.
That, you know, like you can go on the questions box.
Sorry, people. This was my first. All right, we're back, full speed ahead. So we've talked about the MDT. Then, of course, for each of the set of activities that we were asking you to do in the previous section for each model type, there are associated performance measures. So if you, I think for everything, for all of them, if you predicted that you were going to enroll a certain number of victims, we're going to see that you at least meet those or exceed those, things like that. So each, again, as I said, each model type has certain activities or deliverables, and then also certain performance measures. So you want to make sure that somewhere in your application you talk about the activities that you want to do and also the performance measures that you're going to hold the program to. Let's see. Okay, just to give you some idea of how it is that we are evaluating your application, you can see that we give 25 points to organizations. This really is not something that you have to worry about because this doesn't affect your application. This is just to give you a peek on the other side when I have my evaluators reading your proposals and assigning scores. This is what they're looking at. Organizational capacity, they'll be looking at 25 points. Proposed program, another 25 points. Reasonable costs, budget justification, and leverage of funds is 20 points. Program quality and impact, 20 points. And the overall responsiveness of the application. Let me see. Okay, now I think most of this now, the rest of this application kind of gets into non-programmatic issues. They're more contract documents. So if you have any questions about this, you can talk to Julia. She should be able to assist you. If not, let me know. One of us will find the answer for you. That's the bottom line. So let's see. Do we have any questions? Okay, we have some more questions.
So you can drag it back out so you can see the questions.
Okay, let's see. We're talking about regarding the legal advocacy requirements also need to be working within a credentialed domestic violence agency. Absolutely, and thank you for adding that. I appreciate that. That is quite true because a legal advocate working on their own really is not going to have much traction. So thank you for that. Okay, if you think of a question later on, no problem. At this point, I'm going to switch to the application, and we can walk through each page. And some of the tabs, I do have something specific that I'd like to go through with you. So let's hope this works. Nope, that was the wrong thing.
This tab, see?
Ah, okay. Nope. Here we go. Okay, so I'm assuming many of you have had the chance to go in to the application, play around, look at how things work. One piece of information that I did gain from Julia is that as you are going along, you can save, come out, and then when you go back in, your work will be saved. So I think we did have a problem with that in previous years with cyber grants, and hopefully we've fixed that. So, okay, contact information, I don't think I really have much to tell you about that. Organizational information, fairly straightforward. You're putting down all your contacts. You have liability insurance, your website, just again, information about your organization. Then we move to agency overview. So you're going to be talking about your mission, a narrative overview of your agency. I would like to say that the org chart, when you when you upload your org chart, please be sure that it's not such a generic org chart that I don't know where this program that you're applying to get funded, that I don't know where it fits in the agency. Because I know there can be organizational charts from a very macro level and a very micro level. So try to give me something that shows where this initiative fits into your entire agency structure. I think everything else is fairly, I will tell you that the questions, those of you who applied in 2015, the questions are tweaked a little bit. We have this unfortunate desire to always keep improving, so there may be slight differences, and I do ask, everything that I've asked here, I ask it because there's a reason for asking it, and more than likely you're scored on it, so please read the entire, it seems so simple, but read the entire question and address everything that's asked in that question. If you need to save space, because I understand that some of these fields are character limited, in fact I believe many of them are, you don't have to write in full flowery sentences. That's not at all necessary. If you want to give me bullet points, if you want to give me just a list, that is absolutely fine, because I'm thinking about it in terms of my reviewers. The less I guess, prose and long narrative they have to go through to get the answers, it makes it easier for all of us. Okay, I believe that tab, I'm fairly comfortable that you will all know what's in there. I did have to say something about the monitoring tab. There is a question here in program monitoring about, does your program use Infonet or have the capacity to use Infonet for reporting? I don't want this to be something that is alarming for those of you who don't. This is simply, at this point, for information only. It is something that we are looking at for in the future. So at this point, just an information gathering question. No score for that. And, okay, describe your fiscal controls, everything that's, none of that's a surprise to you. Let's see, program summary. This does ask, please provide the title of your proposed program. Some of my larger agencies may, logically for them, there's a certain flow and they may name more than one program with the same proposed program name. If you can give each of your applied for programs, if you give them a different name, that is much appreciated, even if it's Counseling South, Counseling North, just so that we can keep it straight, and when we pick up a purchase order number, it's obvious to us which of your programs that PO number is associated with. I also wanted to tell you that here in this proposed program section, I'm going to skip ahead to, let's see, service provision. This would have been the tab where you indicate the model type. Unfortunately, due to my lack of proofreading, we have old model types here. So if you want to pick what you think is closest to what it is that you're applying for, but what I'm asking is in the program summary, are we here? Yes, if you can somewhere here under proposed program, if just in this narrative you can say, I am applying for counseling services. So, I mean, we should be able to figure it out, but just make it clear in this box. So that'll help us out. All right, where are we with program summary? Yes. Program manager qualifications. If you notice, the first sentence is, please attach an up-to-date resume for the individual who will manage the program. Well and good. My requirement is, please attach a job description, resume, and proof of 40-hour domestic violence training for all staff who are going to be providing services on the work plan. So that's sort of my additional requirement that's added in here. So again, if you really read the questions carefully, you won't miss. Okay, now I think we're moving up to, let's see, work programs. And just to give you, in case you have not gone in here, now again, there are instructions, so you can always look at those. And let's see if we can open the work program here. Let's see. Okay, what's available here? Oh, here it is. I'm sorry, it's at the bottom. Okay. Okay, so this is what your work program looks like. You've got your program or sub-program activities, your deliverables, the planned output by quarter, and then your performance measure. So this is not the exact work plan that if you are selected, you will be filling out a different work plan for the actual contract, but this is the generic work plan for the application that the Office of Budget and Management asks us to use. So I also did check. I tried to type over and I tried to perhaps create a second page and it doesn't work. So you have to fill in everything that you need to fill in. You have to find a way to fit it into this area. The other thing that I wanted to say is when we get to a tab, let's see, okay, I've got to close this out. So how do I close this Oh, I just have too many things here on my screen. Julia, how do I close this out? Excuse me, we're just going to take 1 second break while we close it out. Okay, we're back again. So what I wanted to say is that for what you don't have room for in the work program, there is in the program summary section and the proposed program, this gives you a narrative way of putting down the same information. So if you can just make sure that and I will alert reviewers to that there's these 2 sections to look at, and if between the 2 sections you have everything covered, you're going to be in great shape. Moving on to budget information. Once again, we have instructions, so please read your instructions first. The budget forms, there's no surprise with that. You have a overall budget page, you have a personnel page, and you have a non-personnel page. Because most of these programs, almost all of your programs will be funded through the Community Development Block Grant, we like that you spend at least 80% of your costs on personnel, staff costs. We don't want to see an application with more than 20% on admin costs or supplies or things like that. If you do have further questions about the budget, please send me an email, please give me a call, and I will get the answer for you from my colleagues in the finance division. And then I think I did mention this before, that with service provision, our model types are out of whack, so don't panic, just put down what's closest, but make sure you've told us earlier in the application. So I have pretty much now gone through both the request for proposal document and then the ensuing application. So I'm assuming there's going to be questions, otherwise this is the shortest webinar in history. So I am open to any questions that you have for me. I'm sure everybody's typing. Are there any questions about what model type to apply for, that perhaps you had previously applied for one model type and now you're unsure, or you're unsure how to combine your programs? I feel like a comedian with his microphone turned off. just want to be sure you're all hearing me out there. Okay. What are the districts for the multidisciplinary team? My understanding so far is that it's the 3rd district, the 4th district, and the 14th district. But I think a wonderful way would be to check with your local police department and find out, are you part of the multidisciplinary team? So far, as I said, the 3rd, 4th, and the 14th. So I hope that answers your question. All right, next question. If we offer legal advocacy, let me move up here a little bit. If we offer legal advocacy, do we have to apply for combined counseling legal advocacy, even if we are not applying for our legal advocate? Let me see if I understand that question again better. I'm sorry, Julia, I always need your help in trying to see the full question. I know, I guess I can drag this box all the way up. Oh, okay. The magic of technology. Okay, so the question is, if we offer legal advocacy, do we have to apply for combined counseling legal advocacy, even if we are not applying for funding for our legal advocate? Okay, so I'm assuming the question is that we do provide legal advocacy, but we're not asking you for money for the legal advocates. And I think the simplest way to answer this question is that we know the little drop of money that we're giving you certainly does not pay for your entire initiative. So if you do offer legal advocacy, but we're not paying for it, you'll still be reporting those legal advocacy activities on your work plan. Because as I said before, I know that the little $30,000 or $50,000 that I'm giving you, if you don't have other share that's paying for other staff, it just wouldn't be possible to run a program just on our money. So if you are providing legal advocacy services, then by all means, please apply under the Counseling Legal Advocacy, because you can count the legal advocacy even if someone else is paying for it. Our next question is, if we have previously just been funded for supervised visitation, can we apply for additional program models as well? Absolutely. Absolutely 100%. If you feel comfortable that those are services that you already offer, or those are services that your agency is ready to take on and that you will be able to carry them out, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Oh, okay, thank you. And Hema provided me, I'm assuming, about the multidisciplinary team, that they are in the 3rd, 4th, and 14th district area south. Okay, let's move on to the next question. If we are currently funded for both counseling and legal advocacy, do we still apply for 2 distinct awards? Unless you needed to. Now, for example, let's say you have one program that's operating on at one part of town and the other program that's operating on another side of town, and they have absolutely nothing to do with each other, then you can do that. However, if they're somewhat interdependent, if they're at the same location, and if you have further questions about that, certainly give me a call, send me an email, and we can figure it out together. But you can apply together with legal advocacy and counseling if it makes sense. Because as I said, I know in the past couple of years, I can think of at least 2 programs that applied for a legal advocacy contract and a counseling contract, and they were serving the exact same people under those same 2 contracts, or under those 2 contracts. Okay, great. Lots of questions. I love this. The next question is, when the application questions refer to FY15, is it supposed to refer to FY18 instead? Yes, and I apologize if we did not update everything. So absolutely, it does apply to FY18. I mean, unless I will look through it, but it is FY18. I mean, unless it was referring to some past performance, but no, I don't think so.
It applies to FY18. That's a typo.
Okay. Thank you, Julia. All right. If the application will only fund our counselors, do we have to project on legal advocacy, basically? Well, okay. And again, I don't want to say now, depending if your application would only fund counselors if you were applying for the counseling program. But if you were applying for the counseling and legal advocacy, then we could pay for your legal advocates as well. But Alessandra, if that's not clear, it's probably not something we can resolve right here without a back and forth conversation. So please give me a call when you get a chance, and we can flesh that out a little better. All right, our next question is where EDs get completed and the signature authorization form get completed.
That's the EDS form. Also, did you get my message about?
Okay, so the question, the first one is where EDs get completed economic disclosure forms.
And the signature authorization form get completed. To do that, you would get, to activate that, you should look at an award letter that you received, and it would have the information there as to where you would go to go to the EDS form in the website, and you would need to call either Nicole Roach or your contract liaison about filling that out if you have any questions. Nicole's number is 312-746-7123.
Just say it one more time.
312-746-7123.
Okay, then the second part of the question I am getting is, let me see, about breaking out our counseling from our legal advocacy and case management grant.
That's an offline question, maybe.
Yeah, I think this is something that we can discuss on a little bit more in person or on the phone, because it seems a little bit more about what configuration works better for your particular agency. So I will definitely try to get back to you. I apologize to everyone who called. I was out for a week, but I had a great time, if that makes anybody feel better. Okay, next question. Are you anticipating that this year's award amount will stay within the same range as last year? Megan, great question. And as I stated at the outset, we don't, this is what we're planning for.
This is the thing, is at this point, the CDGA funding, community development block grant funding is actually on the chopping table in this year's federal budget to be completely eliminated. So we don't really know if it's eliminated. Obviously, nobody will get any awards. There was a piece in the New York Times today, in the front section, talking about what the Trump administration's issues with this particular program is, and then the Times provided a kind of nice counter piece to it. But at this point, it's kind of up in the air. We don't know if this money is going to be here in January. We don't know how much of it will be there, and obviously that impacts, what the range is going to be. Of course, if we were going to assume level funding, I think that the award amounts would stay within the same range. But we all have to understand that this is kind of this year is a little bit, seems at least a little bit more tenuous than other years, and we really don't know how much money there will or won't be.
And if you're asking, do we have any plans to say eliminate one model type based on how much funding we have, or have we decided that, okay, if we get less money, we'll cut everybody by a certain percent? None of those decisions have been made because, again, we simply don't have enough information on which to make those decisions.
And we also don't know, I mean, the other thing is that I don't know if there's been any discussions at this particular juncture as to whether or not we would be able to find replacement money for this particular activity. So I think we all are, I think that in terms of writing this proposal, I would say assume a universe that the universe that you are dealing with will continue next year, but understand that, it might not.
Sorry, what an answer, but this is the answer that we have to realistically give you. So my next question talks about, for the clients that we will serve, do they have to be referred from the helpline only, or can they be clients who come to us directly? The only model type that has a restriction on referral source actually two model types would be the multidisciplinary team, because obviously you would be getting all of your client referrals from the police department. Well, I guess I should change that. Then also the resource and information advocacy program, you're getting all your bodies that you want to assist, you're getting them from within 555 West Harrison, that client pool. And with supervised visitation and safe exchange, these families or these visitation units must come to you with a court order for services. But other than that, I'm assuming if you're doing some kind of a counseling program or however, you know what, the more referral sources you have, the better it is for you to always have enough clients and maintain your services at full steam. Okay, will CDBG support children's counseling services? No, I think as we talked about traditionally, we are working with intimate partners who have been abused by their partner, and we don't have the expertise at this point, or we don't have the requirements on, because certainly serving children who are witnesses of domestic violence, it requires separate skills. So at this point, we are not supporting children's counseling services. All right, our next question is, awards haven't been issued. Well, okay, so perhaps let me back up and explain. At this point, all of our awards are in place through the end of December 31st, 2017. So in every contract cycle, there are two main pieces. There's the application, time frame, which is what we're in now. So you're just applying, so there would not be any award letter that goes along with it. Once we have gone through the process of sorting through all your applications, rating them, ranking them, making recommendations to the Office of Budget and Management, and all of it's gone through City Council, then is when you get your award letter.
Correct, and yet at that point is when the EDS and the signature authorization forms would be filled out, not at the time of application. And then in terms of your question about the cost of living increase, I think that as you know, as we discussed with the funding, the funding arena, the funding forecast being so tenuous, it's up to you as to whether or not you want to do a cost of living increase and if that's available or not. There are no guarantees.
Okay, I hope that answers the questions that we've gotten so far. We have plenty of time for more questions. There is no such thing as a silly question, because I guarantee you, if you're wondering it, somebody else is wondering the exact same thing. I wish I could sing. I'd sing for you while we wait. All right, well, I mean, I'm going to give us just a few more minutes to come up with any lingering questions, and this will be our, oh, good. Another question. Let's see. Oh, many questions. All right.
On page 4 of the RFP, you give a breakdown of the number of awards in each category. Do you think that will stay the same or change?
Great question. Unfortunately, I have, in the last several years, I've seen some of my agencies, either they no longer exist or they have decided that they need to go back to a different, they need to stick more closely with their own vision, and serving victims of domestic violence is not part of their core mission. So the outcome is that every year I will say I have lost 1 or 2 agencies. So it could be that there will be, if best case scenario, there are fewer people vying for the same amount of funding, which is best case scenario. Again, this is, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I fund around 20 agencies to provide about 35 programs. But again, that's been in the last few years, just based on what the 2015 award was. So it could change. It could stay similar. We're just answering the same. We're answering the question with the same answers that we just don't know at this point. So I hope this is, again, I think this might be the shortest webinar. I'll have to see. I'll have to check with my colleagues. Oh no, more questions. I get so happy. All right, let's see.
Is the funding being broken up by category, or will it just go to fund the best applications regardless of category? Thinking specifically about the 17 counseling awardees versus the 6 legal/counseling awardees.
Great question. I will tell you off the top, we fund the best. We fund whoever does does the best, and we are not. I mean, maybe if I was at a point where I had no legal services programs, and I might have to make that choice. It has never come to that at this point. One thing that we do look at is the geographical coverage of the city. We do want to fund programs accessible to make them accessible to all of our citizens in Chicago. So that is certainly something that we look at. But I will tell you, there are not that many people competing. I think many of the agencies that we have are many of the agencies that have continued to apply and continued to provide services. So we do, for the most part, we are able to go with just funding the best applications. Because I'm assuming that if you are a really good counseling and case management service, you are going to have linkages where you can send your clients who need legal services or your clients who need a legal advocate. That's part of what I'm grading you on in your application, is your ability to link your clients to other needed services. Okay, I'm going to give it a few more minutes for a question to pop up. But if not, this will be available. It's archived, so everything we went through will be available. Everything we talked about, including the questions.
It will be posted to the website, the DFSS website, where you can access the application, and sometimes we can send it out to the people who attended.
And again, if you have any questions that did not get answered today, or you need a little more specific, tailored information to your agency, to your programs, my email address is meera.raja@cityofchicago.org.
And that is in the RFP.
All right, well, again, I thank all of you. I know your schedules are so busy and you're wearing 2 hats or 3 hats at least at a minimum. So I appreciate the fact that you came and asked questions so that hopefully we'll have less questions email-wise. All right, well, thank you all very much for attending, and I look forward to reading your applications. Thank you.